Hello and welcome to BeamNG Drive. I'm davidinark, and today I'm going to do something a little different. This is going to be the basics of BeamNG. I've actually had several folks reach out to me and just ask if I would do a kind of a high-level overview of just the basics of getting started in BeamNG Drive. So absolutely, why not? The first thing we're going to do is jump into options. And so, like many games, you've got options down the side in the menu. Things include whether you want to use borderless display or if you want to do full screen or run it in a window. Pick whatever monitor you want. You can choose your resolution. Gamma is basically, it's probably not going to affect anything right here. Well, it may if I apply. Let me see. Yeah, it's not really going to do much to the menu. Gamma basically is how bright your pixels are. So if you find the game really dark, you can bump that up. Or if you find it really light, you can bump it down. Although, honestly, a lot of that could probably be handled inside the environment. And so we'll look at that as well. Do you want vertical sync off and on? Do you want the frames per second, the FPS limiter on or off? Again, lots of other things. You may have to adjust some of these settings based on how your computer performs with BeamNG. So some of this stuff you may need to just play with. Again, depending on your CPU, your GPU, how much RAM you have, all that kind of stuff. The user interface. The big thing, do you want custom vehicles in the vehicle selector? Do you want do you use metric, imperial, or some other measuring system? This number of parallel repository downloads. The repository is where you can get mods, and we'll look at that in a minute. But this is how many can you download at the same time. So if you've got beefy bandwidth, you could actually ramp this up if you want to. I would probably leave it at 3 just to keep things running smoothly. And then you can also customize the theme with whatever colors you want. I just use the default because that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. Under language, you can agree and enable community translations. There are several languages available. I'm in English, so I don't mess with that. Audio, master volume, effects, ambience, music volume, that kind of stuff. So once again, you can set that to however you want to set that. Controls, this is where things get complicated and complex. Each vehicle will have its own controls. So right now I'm just at the main menu. So vehicle controls, these are kind of the generic vehicle controls. A lot of it will depend on whether you have a controller plugged in or if you're using keyboard and mouse. And I actually thought I had my controller plugged in, but I just looked down and I don't. So anyway, you'll have options for that. Some general controls, you can change, brush sizes, pause the game, hide the UI, that kind of stuff. Gameplay controls, camera controls, all kinds of different controls that are in here. One of the things that I do is like in slow motion, I actually edited my bindings so that my slow motion and fast motion are bound to keys 1 and 2. Normally those are associated with camera controls, but it's much easier for me to use 1 and 2 on the keyboard as fast and slow motion. You can set your controls up however you want to. Then there are some gameplay options. How do you want the ABS mode, default gearbox behavior? Arcade means that basically you just get in and drive. You don't have to worry about shifting gears. You can also set that to realistic where you do have to shift gears. That comes in handy, especially if you're going to be using a wheel with pedals or even if you're going to use a controller. And then again, there are some times where you just want that manual control over what's happening inside the gearbox. So the big thing to remember is that BeamNG is a simulation. It is not really a game. I mean, it kind of is a game, but it's meant as a simulation. So lots of different things get simulated in the game. You have things like a clutch assistant. If you turn off the clutch assistant, then you actually have to put in the clutch in order to change gears, just like you would in a real manual transmission vehicle. Other things, do you want to start the engines preheated? traffic, the amount of vehicles. You can have it on automatic, or you can actually bump that up. Traffic vehicle selections, smart, any config, random. So smart basically tries to choose the vehicles based on kind of what you've already got in there, and I think also based on kind of what map you're in. Random is just random. I mean, it really is just whatever vehicles it picks. Allow mods to spawn traffic. I would leave that checked. This show on the UI map, that's up to you if you want the UI to show up on the like GPS in the car, not the UI. If you want the AI to show up on the mini maps in the game, you can check that. That can come in handy, but I mean, you know, real life doesn't show you. I mean, yes, it shows you where traffic is backed up, but it doesn't show you individual cars or anything. So anyway, other settings like that. You can also control camera things. So there are multiple cameras in the game. We'll look at several of those, and then those cameras may have different settings. So for example, there's a camera called Orbit, and there are settings inside that. There's a camera called Chase, and you can modify where the angle is in terms of chase, in terms of what happens with the driver cam. There's also an external cam. There are other cameras that you can get into as well. So that's the options menu. So just kind of running through that, hopefully relatively quickly. News is just that. That'll take you out and show you any latest update news about BeamNG. Help, of course, is a help system. Credits tells you who made the game. Replays, one of the things you can do in BeamNG is you can actually record inside the game whatever you're doing, and then you can actually replay that from multiple angles. And I do a lot of my videos using replays now that I've learned how to do that. Repository is where you get mods, and I kind of wish I just called it mods, but anyway. So the repository, when you go here, this is where it shows you which mods are available to you in the game. And the way you add mods to the game is you simply go through here. You can search. So if you were looking for, I think you can even do, oh, well, you can choose category. So let's say I was looking for an island, right? So I'm looking for something that says island. So I have, there's different, like here's a license plate. I was just trying to see if there was anything that didn't have, that wasn't really, so like the license plate, that's what that is. It's a license plate. So one of the things I could do is I could come over to the categories and I could say, okay, just, give me only the terrains, levels, and maps that have island. And so, well, it still shouldn't have come up with a license plate. Anyway, you know what? We'll just give me everything. Where's everything? How do I do everything? I don't remember where I am now. Anyway, you'll have to forgive me. But anyhow, so once you find a place that you want, then what you can do is click the plus, and it will subscribe to the mod, and it will download that mod to your computer. I'm not going to do that right now. My internet is super freaking slow. You'd be here for 100 years. Although technically that's a small one. So if I hit plus, it's going to download that mod automatically and add it to your game. So that's the easiest way to add mods. There are other ways to add mods, but this is the easiest way to add mods. Okay, they're in the repository, which is kind of the quote-unquote official mod location for BeamNG Drive. The check mark means I have it installed. Over on the left-hand side at the top, I can go to mods, and this will show me which mods I currently have installed on my game. I can hit minus, and that will deactivate the mod. That means that you still have the mod on your computer. It's just not being loaded into the game. Sometimes, especially after an update, sometimes mods break the game, or the game breaks the mods, and so you may have to subtract out those mods. Likewise, the X means remove and unsubscribe from the mod. That means not only am I going to deactivate it, but I'm also going to delete it from my computer so that mod is no longer on my computer. That is the easiest way to get mods into the game. Repository, search for what you're looking for. Likewise, I mean, I could even do, if I want to look at the top downloaded mods, then I could, go in here. But anyway, go to the repository, search for what you're looking for, or just page through and see if something jumps out. Hit the plus to download it. It's added to your game. That's simple. There are another series of mods called automation mods. There is a game called Automation that allows you to create your own vehicles from scratch. And there's a partnership between the folks who make Automation and BeamNG where you can export those automation cars into BeamNG. And here, again, inside this repository menu, I could hit the plus and I could download the mod if I want to download a particular automation vehicle. All right, so different ways to get mods. By the way, navigation, I can either go back to the main menu or I can click this little up arrow in the upper left corner. So that is repository. The main thing you want to do when you get in here is play. So we're going to hit play, and that gives you a series of items to choose from. Campaigns. A campaign is a series of events all tied together that lead to one another. So for example, there's one that's driver training. It takes you through various driving situations inside BeamNG. Senseless Destruction is a lot of fun. Senseless Destruction will take you through a series of events where basically the goal is to destroy the vehicles that you're driving. That's what BeamNG is pretty much all about. There's another one called Rocky Start and Hustle and Bustle. Others may become available in the future, but those are the campaigns. Scenarios are similar to campaigns, but scenarios are generally independent, where a campaign is a series of situations or a series of scenarios, if you will. The scenario section is actually they're kind of the one-off. So I have Chase the Redneck, and that is its whole purpose. You will chase the redneck. Or if I scroll down to some of the ones that come with the game, there's supply delivery, where you take your pickup truck and you have to deliver this without losing it. By the way, if you are looking or as you are looking at the add-ons and scenarios and vehicles and all that kind of stuff, if they have the little BeamNG logo, that means it came with the game. If it does not have the little logo in the corner, then that means that somebody else made that and it's a mod. All right. Easy way to distinguish between mods or what comes with the game. So with scenarios, generally you get a gold, silver, or bronze medal, depending on how well you do. Then you have FreeRoam, which is where most people spend a lot of their time, because this is literally what it means. Free roam. I fire up a map and I drive around it however I want to. East Coast, what's really weird is some of these, like East Coast USA, the ETK Driver Experience, Hirochi Raceway, these come with the game. I don't know why they don't have the logo anymore. In fact, Italy doesn't have the logo. Most of these don't have the logo. I don't know. Anyway, usually the ones that come with the game have the logo. Mods will not have the logos. Mods just are blank there. And so as you download maps and stuff from the repository, they will show up here in your free roam. They may also show up in other areas depending on if those maps came with like scenarios or campaigns or time trials. Time trials is a little different. With time trials, you select a map and it has several predetermined locations. So for example, if no, that's funny. Now this East Coast has the logo anyway. So if I select East Coast, then I can choose a layout and it will give me a different path that I can take predetermined inside the game as a time trial. So if I pick one of those, then I can also go in here and I can choose a vehicle. So I can pick any of the vehicles that are compatible with the time trial. So for example, if I wanted to do we'll do the Tog Rack. Sure, why not? So now I have this. I can also, do I want to do the track backward? Do I want to have a rolling start? How many laps do I want to do? What time of day? And at that point I hit play and it will load the map and it'll do the time trials where you have to go through certain checkpoints as fast as you can. And so that is time trials. Bus routes is another really cool thing. It's kind of like time trials, but it's for buses. So I can pick a map and it will only show me the maps that have bus routes loaded on them. So for example, if I wanted to do the West Coast USA, then I can go in here and it will show me the different bus routes that I can take. And so maybe I want to do the convention center bus route. Then I've got the vehicle, which I could pick a different bus if I wanted to pick a different bus. Strict stops, that requires the bus to stop, kneel, and open the door, meaning that the bus, you have to lower the bus when you stop, and then do you want traffic or not inside the bus route. So lots of different things you can play with on there. Light Runner is really cool. Light Runner is a it's like a whole different area where you are on these neon glowing tracks and you get neon glowing vehicles, and it's a lot of fun. It's just another way to play BeamNG. That's pretty cool. Light Runner. And then Track Builder allows, oh, I didn't know it was going to go into the Track Builder. I thought it was going to give me some options. Anyhow, Track Builder allows you to build your own track in the game, and it is using the Light Runner area. So it uses Light Runner, and you can build your own tracks in the game. So there you go. And then I can't remember now. It's been so long since I've done this. I don't remember what I can't remember how to do this. Let's see. Oh, that's not gonna work. I can lower this, yeah. So I can keep lowering this. So this is like a major. If I use my keys to move around, I'm using WASD and my mouse to spin around. So as you can see, this goes around a little curve and then comes around a very sharp curve underneath the other track. So you can make your own tracks, do all kinds of stuff, make tunnels, all kinds of stuff. So I am going to go back to the main menu because I didn't mean to do that. And then right now there is no career mode currently in place, but that is one of the things that has been promised from pretty much day one. But you will have a career mode, whatever that's going to look like, and eventually that'll come up. So looking forward to that. So that's the basics of getting into BeamNG and what BeamNG comes with. But I'm going to jump into FreeRoam, and we're going to talk a little bit about just little things that you do when you are actually playing the game. So one of the things when you go into FreeRoam and you pick a map, so for example, East Coast USA, many of the maps have different starting points. So that allows you to kind of change up how you start your experience in BeamNG. So I'm going to start with the gas station parking lot. Why not? All right, here we go. We are on the map. We are in the game. So the easiest thing to do when you get into the game is just accelerate and take off. So if you're using the keyboard, it's going to be the arrow keys on your keyboard, up, down, left, and right. Up accelerates, left and right turns, down. Technically is putting the car in reverse, but it's also braking. The space bar is your e-brake, so I can slam on my e-brake there and continue driving along. Alright, so that's just driving, and then of course it's BeamNG, so you want to crash. When you're in BeamNG Drive, when you hit escape, that will bring up a series of menus. One of them is this Radial Menu, and it has different options in it. You can save the vehicle in its current form. So I could actually save this wrecked vehicle to my computer, and then later if I wanted to bring it back in its wrecked condition, I could bring it back into the game. There are things like, we'll get to fun stuff in a minute. There's AI, which is computer-controlled stuff. And in AI, you have traffic. And so with traffic, you could spawn vehicles. And with the police option, that means that there will be police cars. So as you're driving around, if you speed or crash into vehicles, drive recklessly, the police will come after you. There's also just a regular spawn where it's just regular traffic with no police cars. You can also tell all the traffic to stop moving around if you had traffic in there. There are other AI options if you have more than one vehicle in the game at a time. I'm going to, so we'll get to that in just a second. All right. One of the things is I can also check, I can go to the powertrain and you can change different options. The options that you have will depend on the vehicle that you are driving. So when you go to powertrain, you may have different options depending on which vehicle that you bring in. Your electronic stabilization control. This is one way that you can determine which type of ESC that you want on your vehicle. This is determined by which type of ESC is available on the vehicle. So if your vehicle doesn't have any, there's nothing here. If your vehicle has only a couple of these, then that's what you get to pick. So the menu will change depending on what the vehicle has available to you. You can go to manage, which there are some things here. I can select a particular car. I can go back to the home position. I can set the home position, meaning that if I set the home position right here, then now if I tell the game to go back to the home position, it will respawn right here instead of back in the garage area where I was, right? Because I reset that home position. Another thing you can do is I could remove this car. If I didn't want this car, then I could delete it. And at that point, right now, I'd have no other cars. But there's also a clone option, and that is to make an exact copy of the car that you currently have selected or the car that you're currently driving and make an exact duplicate. So if I go ahead and clone this, now it's going to clone it right next to it. So you can see there could be a problem if you clone a vehicle right next to a vehicle that's next to the woods or a wall or a cliff. So that's always fun. But the main reason why I wanted to do that is because now in AI, notice I have a whole bunch of different options. So what this means is that when you go to AI, and you tell a vehicle, say, to flee, that means that every vehicle that is not the one that you are currently using is going to flee from you. So if I click flee, notice the AI has taken over that car and it is running away. So if I hit escape and now I go to AI and I tell it to stop, then the AI is no longer controlling that car. And as you can see, it stopped. I can also do AI chase me, and that is that now this AI, where before it was just trying to get away from me, now it is actually going to try to wreck me out. So here it comes. And, well, I'm in the tree, so it's going to have a hard time figuring out where I am. But anyway, you can do AI chase me. There we go. There you are. Isn't that nice? So you can do AI chase me where, like, if you want the cops to chase you, that kind of thing. Again, I can stop, and the AI will quit doing what it was doing. Again, I could hit remove if I want to remove. All right. So that is the AI menu. Let's see. Was there anything else under manage? Oh, once you have more than one car on the screen, then under manage, I can switch. And now I am controlling this car. All right. So that's what switch does, is switch between vehicles. Again, if I had 15 vehicles, I could switch between them all. There are electrics. So if my car had a light bar, you know, like on a police car, I could turn on and off the light bar. I can set my signals. So do I want the left signal, right signal, which I guess is damaged because cars. So anyway, what you can do, you can play with signals inside electrics. You can do your headlights. You can do fog lights. You can do hazard lights. So all kinds of different things you can do inside electrics. Fun stuff. Fun stuff does things like this. So if I click hinges, I wish this radial thing kind of wasn't in the way, but if I do hinges, then it breaks all of the hinges on the vehicle. So there you go. Anything that was connected to the vehicle with a hinge is now, well, not. So there you go. So again, I could go home. Now that resets the car. Everybody's happy. Other fun stuff, you can do things like set the car on fire. Woohoo! And crazily enough, in BeamNG, you can drive a car down the highway that is on fire because it's BeamNG. Oh, I actually thought I was going to hit a tree. Oops, so much for that. All right, so we'll go back home. So you can set the car on fire. Tires. I just deflated all of the tires because, you know, again, it's BeamNG, so you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Let's see. So fire sets it on fire. Boom causes it to explode, which is way more impactful because, you know, it's BeamNG. Break the car. This breaks everything on the car. So the hinges have everything that's attached by a hinge disconnects. Breaking the car, basically, if the piece can fall off the car, it's going to fall off the car. So, as you can see, it's busted. You can also extinguish the fire. So if you set it on fire, you can do extinguish and it'll put it out. All right. So there you go. So that was fun stuff. I think that's everybody. All right, so that's pretty much everybody in the radial menu. Now, you also notice that there's a menu down to the side. So I'm going to talk about that real quick because this is where you get a lot of other options. So the first one is the play button. That just means continue. I didn't mean to be in the menu, or I don't want to be in the menu. Again, remember, I'm hitting escape. The next one is drive. So here I can choose something else. So if I want to go to a different map, or if I decide I want to load a scenario, whatever I want to do, that is the drive menu. Of course, I got help. We've got mods, so I can actually click on this and it will take me to the mods window where I can load in a mod if I want to, or I can turn off a mod, whatever I want to do. Below that, and this is probably one of the most used features, at least for me, is when I bring up this menu, I can go to vehicles, and here I can choose another vehicle that I want to bring into the game. So for example, if I want to bring in a Burnside Special Dragster, then once I click on that, I can do a couple of things. One, I can choose the color. So if I don't like the default yellow color, then maybe I want to make it, I don't know, red. So it will spawn in red, or should spawn in red. Then I can do a couple of things at the bottom. I can either spawn a new vehicle, which means that it's going to keep whatever vehicles are in the game, but give me a new vehicle that is the dragster, or I can replace the current vehicle that I'm looking at. So I can replace, which you can't see because my menu's in the way. So if I replace current, notice that this car now becomes the dragster. All right, I've replaced that vehicle, and I can, take off and drive and all that other kind of stuff. I'll end up crashing into a tree because I'm not very good at driving a dragster with my keyboard. All right, so that's how you can spawn new vehicles or swap out vehicles, that type of thing. Now, once you have a vehicle in the game, then the next item down is the vehicle config. And this is really cool because this is where you can change some of the stuff about the vehicle itself. So you'll notice here I have a parts configuration. There's a frame option here. I can click the arrow next to frame, and I can do things like, does this vehicle have a tow hitch? What type of body is it? Is it the chopped and channeled body? Is there no body? So let's do the chopped and channeled, because why not? A dragster with the chopped and channeled. Oh, dude, that's so freaking sweet. All right, I've not actually played with that. But anywhere there's an arrow on the side, you can add or change the feature. So for example, if I wanted a beacon light, I can add a beacon light to the top of this vehicle. And so now I have a police dragster. Yeah, you heard me. It's a police dragster. There you go. The grill. So my grill options are either there's a grill or not. So just for the sake of argument, if you hit empty and you wait a second, then there you go. There is no longer a grill. Same thing with any of these. Steering wheel, tail lights. Does it have a navigation unit? You know what? I'm going to put the beam navigator inside. I don't even know if that's a thing, to be honest with you. Oh, yeah, there is. So now I got a little GPS on my windshield. That is so freaking cool. And by the way, I'm changing cameras. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Again, anything that's got an arrow out to the left, then that means it's got other pieces and parts that you can add to it. So once once you've got your vehicle set the way that you want to have it set, other things, you can go to tuning. Again, these different options are going to be different based on which vehicle you have, but I can change the brake bias, front and back, how much brake force is there, what do I have with the chassis, are there differentials, what do I want to do with the engine in terms of RPMs, what about suspension, wheel alignment, wheels, all kinds of tire pressure, all kinds of stuff that you can do. Remember, BeamNG is a simulation, right? Its ultimate goal is to simulate different situations with the vehicles that you bring in. So it's all kinds of stuff you can do. Likewise, if I wanted to change different colors, if I didn't want it to be red, I could make it, I don't know, lime green. And then a lot of times cars will have multiple colors. So here I can change the color of the roof. So you notice that I have two different sliders here. So I can do this, and so maybe I want to do, I don't know, that's actually not pretty at all. Let's jump that. There we go. I mean, it's still not going to be pretty, but there we go. Or if you are old school like me, you can do, let's see if we do this, and we tone this down. There you go. It's either the Joker Mobile or the Barney Mobile. Depends on, what you grew up with. There you go. Anyway, sorry, I digress often, but there you go. So there is that. And that, again, that was the square with the gear on it for vehicle config. The next thing down is the environment. This is where I talked about before. If things are just like too bright or too dark, you can actually change the time of day. So I can change the time of day, and I can put my headlights on if I want to put headlights on. Which, by the way, I hit the N key for that. So I can do the time of day. You can also have it play through the time of day, which means that the sun will actually go up and down as you're playing. So you have the whole day-night cycle. Weather, you can change the wind speed. So you can have the wind affect your vehicles. And yes, the wind can affect your vehicles. If I ramp this up to the wind speed here, that should, I can't remember what speed that is, but it should make it hard to drive. Well, I say that. Well, yeah, see, it's pushing some. It's not doing as bad as that's not right. Usually with wind speed, that's weird. Usually wind speed, if I crank this all the way up, like, it would be blowing my car off the map. So, I don't know. Anyway, do you want it to be super cloudy, not cloudy? How much fog do you want? One of the things with fog density, the foggier you make it, that might help your computer if it's a lower end computer, because it doesn't have to render so much. You can also change the gravity. So right now by default you have Earth gravity. If I want to, I can do moon gravity. And so as I drive my car, you'll notice that it's having a hard time getting grip because the moon's gravity is not the Earth's, right? It's like, what, 1/6 of the Earth's. Likewise, I could do the gravity of the sun, which completely destroys stuff. Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Venus, I don't know, whatever. You can do zero gravity. And then sun gravity. There's so much senseless, mindless fun you can have in BeamNG, folks. Just going to throw that out there. Simulation speed, that's kind of the slow motion type thing. Do you want it in real time? Do you want 2 times, 4 times, that kind of stuff? And do you want tire marks when you're peeling out, that kind of stuff? So there you go. Likewise, I could jump into Track Builder over here back on the left. Replays, that is again where you've recorded something that you've done and you can play it back. There's also a photo mode, so you can lay out a camera. Just so here you go. If I have my camera here, I can do this, and we can. Oh, I thought I could zoom. Oh, WASD. I keep forgetting that. So I can go in here and I can set this up for a right pretty picture. You click the camera, ka-ding, and it takes a picture and saves it to your computer. All right, so the very bottom thing down here is options, which we looked at options before, so that's in there. But then there's also this thing called UI apps, and the UI apps are let me see, are those things that show up on the screen as you're driving around. So each of these is a UI app. We have the map, the navigator. I've got the odometer. I also have the start-stop. And that is done through these customized UI apps. So when you click on that button, it shows you where the different things are on the screen. And if I hit plus, I can add in one of, or many of, a gazillion different apps that come with the game. So if I wanted to add in, let's just say dashboard indicators. All right. So now here's the kick is when you click it, you then have to on your screen figure out where the heck it put it. In my case, it put the dashboard indicators up here in the top corner, but I can drag these around and I can put them wherever I want to. So if I wanted to put the dashboard indicators maybe here in the middle at the bottom, once I get them in place, I can hit plus, and now as I drive around, then it will, those will indicate. So as you can see, I've got my signal on. It's indicating the signals, right? Likewise, if I turn my headlights on, it's showing that I have my headlights. Blue is my high beams. Okay, now this vehicle is not going to have ABS because it's too old. But there you go. And then the space is the e-brake, my parking brake. So a couple of other quick control things. N is your headlights. One time turns them on, second time is high beams, third time is off. M is your siren if you have one. The first time you press M, it's just the light. The next time you press M, it includes the siren. And the next time turns it off. J will pause the game, right? So that means that no matter what's happening on the screen, the game will get paused. So give you an example. I wish I had a jump somewhere. I need a jump. All right, so if I just cruise down here. Oh, I'm going to lose control. That's all right. Okay, if I hit pause, then I can stop the game with exactly what's happening at that moment. That comes in handy if I want to take a picture of this, right? So I can then bring up the camera menu and do take a camera there. Or if I simply just want to move my camera around, and what I'm doing is I'm clicking the right mouse button and dragging the mouse. And so now I can swing the camera around, and if I hit J again, the physics continues. Oh, that is not good. You've got fire. So J will pause. The number keys across the top of your keyboard, they will change the cameras. By default, yours are going to be 1 and 2 will be, I think, orbit and maybe first person or cockpit view. Then 3 is onboard hood. 4 is external, which is kind of like a TV camera. 5 is relative, which, like, what that means is you can set the camera and it will stay in that position no matter where the car is going. 6 is a chase cam, which is like old school arcade games where the camera is always behind the back of the vehicle. It doesn't rotate around like orbit does. This is like straight up following the car. I'll be honest, for me in BeamNG, the chase cam is one of the hardest ones. Yeek. But we also have top down, and I think that's all of those. So again, normally, those are what your keys are. As I had mentioned earlier, I've actually remapped my keys for slow motion, my 1 and 2 keys for slow motion and fast motion. So what that means is that if I'm driving around and I do slow motion, notice in the top corner it says 8 times slower. So I'm still going 100 miles an hour, but the game has been slowed down. I just put it in slow motion, just so I can see what's happening, or if I want to record it that way or whatever. Likewise, I can speed that back up to simulation speed. So where that also comes in handy, okay, well, it's kind of like that. If I'm going to do something like this, I can slow it down. That's actually a little too slow. So we can see just what's happening in the game as my car is trying to hill climb in an old 50s purple and green police car. Welcome to BeamNG. And then again, I can speed that up. So again, and you can set those for different controls, whatever you want to do. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that is pretty much it. That's the very basic overview of BeamNG. And I know this is going to end up, this is way longer than I meant it to be, but I'm a talker. And I also wanted to give you kind of an overview of a lot of the things that you will probably use most. So feel free to refer back to this video, you know, pause it, fast forward it, skip around, whatever you need to do for you as you are learning to play the game, as you're checking out different features of the game. There are a ton of other things you can do in BeamNG, but this just gives you kind of an overview of getting started. So hopefully that helps. Let me know down in the comments section below. Get any other questions, problems, suggestions, horror stories, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below as well. I'm not doing that well. Tartar sauce. Hey, special thanks to Hero of God, GamerGull, and Mr. Spooky7 for supporting me on Patreon. If that's something you'd like to check out, head over to patreon.com/davidinark. I just thank you so much for watching the video, coming by, checking it out, and if you would like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff that helps me grow my channel and helps us provide content like this and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. We'll see you next time on BeamNG Drive. Have a great day. I slowed it down too late. Too late.